Hello, I'm Harry.
And I'm Rose, and this is the BBC News report from Ormiston Bushfield Academy.
Our main headline today follows the story of the para-Olympian Oscar Pistorius, who, last month, was accused of murdering his partner, Reeva Steenkamp.
The coverage on the story in the news has led to the continued debates about gun crime in South Africa. Our international correspondent Matthew reports.
The recent case of Oscar Pistorius, people have been stirring up a debate whether it was in his nature or just due to the environment he grew up in. 29-year-old model Reeva Steenkamp was shot in Pistorius' house in Pretoria. Looking at the statistics of gun crime in South Africa, over 43 people were shot every day and died. Have you ever been a victim of gun crime?
I haven't been shot, no. I have, however, been held up twice by a man with a gun and had to face the barrel of that gun and look down the barrel of that gun. The second time I thought I was going to die at the hands of that particular individual.
Do you think it's a good idea to hold firearms in your house to keep you and your family safe?
It's a very difficult one, that, because there is the perception that if you have a firearm in your house and you don't know how to use it properly, the chances are that the perpetrator will actually take it off you and use it against you. So they will basically, your intruder will basically take your firearm off you and use it to shoot you. However, the flip side of that is if you know how to use it, make sure that you shoot to kill.
Would you agree that South Africa is still the deadliest country to live in?
Interesting one, that as well, because it's such a beautiful place to be and such beautiful climate and beautiful people that you tend to, when you're living there, you tend to think that it's not as bad as all that, as people make it out to be. But once you've been a victim of crime, you realise that actually it's only a matter of time before you become a statistic, or could possibly become a statistic. And I do think it's a very, very dangerous place to live. Day-to-day things like picking your children up from school, going shopping, visiting friends, coming home late at night, day-to-day things that we in this country take for granted become very dangerous. Taking public transport for some people is an absolute no-no. You just, I could never, from where I lived to where I worked, could never take public transport because it's too dangerous. So yes, it is a very dangerous place to live in, and the statistics speak for themselves. It's one of the highest death rates due to crime in the world.
Do you agree with the opinions that South Africa is shoot first, ask questions later society?
Definitely. You don't ask questions, you don't wait around. Someone's going to attack you, someone's going to injure you, you're going to shoot first. You're going to shoot first and take the consequences, because you take your chances. If you don't shoot to kill that person first, that person will shoot and kill you first. So yes, most definitely a shoot now, ask later.
Chris from Cambridge shared his views from living in South Africa.
My family was carjacked just before, and that was actually what made us decide to leave the country. It was an evening. It was a late evening in a suburb just outside, sort of on the outskirts of Johannesburg, and we parked outside a friend's house, and some guys with guns came and took our car away from us, which was quite terrifying. They tried to kidnap my brother and I, but they ended up getting spooked. They rushed in the end because a car came towards us, and they just pushed us out the way and jumped into the car and left. It's a society where everyone is very defensive. Most people are very defensive. Most people are very aware that they are potentially in danger, and they are quite mistrustful. And the reason for that is not just because they shouldn't be, it's because media, the news stories make them mistrustful, the way the government acts makes them mistrustful, and they've seen their friends and their family be victims of crime, and that makes them very, very edgy. And people who are stressed and people who are edgy and are in that kind of mentality are much more likely to react before, or react aggressively before thinking things through. So I don't think the society as a whole is like that. I think what you have is individual cases where people who are living in higher risk areas or believe themselves to be at risk are going to take that kind of action.
From what we have heard, it seems that South Africa is a beautiful country, but a rather dangerous place to live due to the prevalence of guns. Now back to studio.
Now, last month, Peterborough City Council announced plans to shorten library hours as part of more government cuts. Our local correspondent, Julietta, is outside Vivacity Library in Orton Gate Shopping Centre to find out how local people are feeling about the proposed cuts. Julietta, what's the general feeling about this?
Thank you, Henry. Yes, I'm standing outside Orton Library in Peterborough, where those processed library cuts look to affect day-to-day running of the service. The general feeling from the public has been very negative, as a lot of the locals actually spend a great deal of time here, especially those with young children. It obviously has educational benefits to the locals here, and if that goes, then we may start to see an even greater decline in young people reading books. Of course, the locals are not the only ones affected, as this is also likely to affect jobs for those that work here.
How much of a difference is it making to the opening times?
Well, the short answer is that we still don't know. There have been many consultation meetings over the past few weeks, and everyone is still unsure about what will happen and how much the hours are going to be shortened. I've actually spent a great deal of time in the library this morning to find out just how much this will affect people. It is proposed to cut the opening of Orton Library by 13 hours. Miss Stevenson, library supervisor, spoke to us about the cuts.
The proposed change in hours for the opening hours of Orton Library are to decrease the current opening hours to the 29 hours a week. Various patterns were proposed and some of them were provided in a consultation to the general public in hope to get a choice out of what their preference is going to be. We have not received the information back yet. We're expecting the local council to provide us with the information as soon as possible.
And people, ordinary people going into the library to read the books, because they want people to use books more, and that's not going to happen if they reduce the hours of the library, is it?
Well, it might affect me because I tend to come up here at different hours of the day. So if I knew what the cuts were likely to be, I might have a thought about how much they would affect me.
We have been told about it and we have filled in a questionnaire about it, but we're not very happy because we do, as childminders, use the library a couple of times a week. We go to story time and rhyme time, so it would have a direct impact with us in our welfare of caring for the children.
Obviously our parents like the fact that we bring the children to the library and do lots of stuff, so obviously it has a knock-on effect, you know, obviously to the parents as well, with the children and stuff we do with the children. So.
Right, well, the libraries are not actually run by the City Council, they're run by Vivacity, which is the trust. Now, when I first started working for the council, they used to be run in-house. Now, what we've done is we've asked Vivacity, the trust, who we fund, and the libraries still work and run out of council buildings, but we've asked them to save a certain amount of money. We've asked them within our overall budget to save £200,000. Now, the reason we've asked them to save that is because we are £17 million short in our overall budget.
Our local correspondent Julietta, thank you.
In Peterborough High Street, a war memorial was damaged in January during the snowy period. Shannon has more on the story.
We're outside Peterborough War Memorial, which has been recently built and already damaged due to weathering.
Into the War Memorial, obviously we're very distressed about the damage that's actually been caused to the bottom of the War Memorial. We know obviously that took place during the snow. I don't know whether you've been out there and had a look at it now, or all the public realm work that we've just done along there. So the new slabs, drainage, you'll see new seats and bins, and you'll see that we've actually, when we've relayed the slabs around the memorial, We've even put a focused set of slabs. Well, I'm not a stone expert, so as far as I'm aware, the group that actually designed and worked together to put the memorial up chose the different elements of stone.
Do you think you live in the best place in the country? Well, if you're living in Stamford, this may be the case. Lois has more on the story.
Stamford, a market town in Lincolnshire, has been voted the #1 place to live in Britain according to Sunday Times. The BBC School News Report team from Ormiston Bushfield Academy went to find out why.
I like lots of things about Stamford. We like lots of things about Stamford, don't we, Oscar? Love the architecture.
Historical town, and a pleasure to be in.
The buildings, the people, and the atmosphere, basically.
I'm here with the Mayor of Stamford, Councillor Bob Sandal, to find out his views on Stamford being awarded the best place in Britain to live. How long have you lived in Stamford?
I was born here in 1942, just over 70 years ago.
What do you think is the best thing about Stamford?
That's a good question, really. I like Stamford because it's steeped in history. It was one of the most important towns in the country. It has a population of roughly 20,000. It hasn't grown anything like the towns around. Take Peterborough, Nottingham and Leicester. It's kept its identity pretty well. And if you want to go somewhere during the week or the weekend, there is always something that you can like go for a picnic down the Meadows or the Wreck, wherever.
We're now handing over to Jake for the weather.
Good morning. Thank you, Harry, and thank you, Rose. It's been a very frosty start to the day, so many of you might have to scrape the window screens first thing. The good news is that it should be a dry day for many of us, with some blue skies and sunshine. Mind you, it will start to feel cold through the end of March, especially as it turns windy later. Temperatures ranging between 2 Celsius in eastern Scotland to 7 in the Channel Islands. The bad news is that it will turn wet across Northern Ireland, Wales and southwest England later in the day. The outlook is for more snow. That's the weather this morning. Back to you, Harry and Rose.
Thank you, Jake. This is Rose and Harry,
reporting for the BBC School Report from Ormiston Bushfield Academy.
Thank you for watching
and good night.